and stunning HD. This is
English Premier League news.
Your home of sport.
Hey guys, it's ZPR News here, and this is another part of my review of Swansea vs Manchester United. This is 5 things we've learnt. So firstly, we learnt about the new players and the new system. So basically, Van Gaal's decided to play 3 at the back with Manchester United, and for example, let's just think if this was David Moyes, what everyone would be saying: he's an idiot, he's a fool, why the hell is he doing this? This is suicidal. But if Van Gaal does it, then it's seen as a brave new era and a touch of genius. Basically, his reputation is making this look like it's a genius thing to do, a brave thing to do, and also playing the young players again is seen as something brave and amazing to do, which is something that I like to see young players that are inexperienced having a good shot at the Premier League. Although he does have a good reputation with young players, having won the Champions League with Ajax, with the youngest team ever to win the Champions League with Ajax. So Tyler Black and Justin Guards were used purely, in my opinion, out of necessity. But whether that was a good idea for Van Gaal to do that is something completely different. But Lingard was pulled out early on in the game. He was left on the bench. However, in the early stages, he let Wayne Routledge run all over him dangerously in the first half. And Tyler Blackett, however, had an absolutely outstanding, not outstanding game, but a decent, good start to his Manchester United career. He did himself no harms there. Now we're going to talk about another thing, the wing-backs. So with the wing-backs switch from the normal Manchester United 4-4-2 formation, in the first half, it was seen as a huge disadvantage, as Manchester United were very, very poor and laboured and slow down the wings. They didn't succeed to run down the wings. The fullbacks were pushed up by Swansea because they were able to get their fullbacks forward, and they were hugely outnumbered. And Adnan Januzaj found it particularly difficult having a 2-on-1 on him, because he'd have 2 defenders marking him. So in the end, he was very ineffective. However, in the second half, when they switched to 4-2-3-1, Januzaj found himself a lot easier to get forward and less isolated, which allowed his fullback, Phil Jones, to give him a 2-on-1 on Tindalli or Taylor, depending on who it was, which resulted obviously in Manchester United getting the corner and getting the equaliser. So there's a disadvantage of the 3-5-2 formation, or 3-4-1-2, whatever you want to call it. Next, we're going to talk about point 3, which is Swansea City. Gary Monk is probably one of the most likely was the most likely manager to get sacked, having no experience, or literally no experience in the top flight as a manager. However, today in Old Trafford, he performed absolutely perfectly. He pressed the wing backs backwards, which is something you need to do when you're playing 3-5-2, is to get your full backs, your right back and your left back, to try and push the full backs forward, which he was able to do. And he was also able to play it perfectly, having a 3-man midfield, which is able to stop and prevent Andy Herrera from dictating the play, along with Darren Fletcher. However, he was also helped by a fantastic performance from the captain, Ashley Williams, having given a superb, all-or-nothing job in defence, where he was full-on throwing himself around and kept Juan Mata and Wayne Rooney's influence to an absolute minimum. Also, as a manager, it's important to use your substitutes well, and he did very effectively, taking off Taylor, who had an absolutely appalling game in my opinion, and Dwight Tindalli came on, brought fresh legs, and preventing Adnan Januzaj from having such an effect on the game. And then Jefferson Montero coming on with an absolutely fantastic performance, using his pace and attack, which led to Swansea City's winner. His breaking forward, counter-attacking skills with huge amounts of pace. Then you've got Babatumi Gomes, who added extra energy and penetration to the forward attacks from Swansea. However, Gary Monk obviously faces tougher tests later on in the season, but for now, in my opinion, he looks like an absolutely fantastic manager. Now we're going to talk about the 3 at the back. The 3 central defenders is the point 3. Manchester United's back 4 today was a real test for them. The counter-attacking speed of Swansea allowed a three at the back of Jones, Chris Smalling and Tyler Blackett finding themselves all over the pitch. Phil Jones was flying across over to the wing-back position to try and tackle people. And then you've got the likes of Wayne Routledge and Nathan Dyer, who were very fantastic at putting pressure and dominating the game with pacey counter-attacks, which pulled the back three out, which is a real weakness playing three at the back, because you've then got to have your central defenders having to be comfortable as full-backs, where people like Jones possibly is quite comfortable with this. Chris Smalling is not comfortable with this. Johnny Evans is not comfortable with this. We need different. They need and we need, because three central defenders which are very, very, very dominant on the ball. They can pass it out easily. Okay, so and finally the fifth point is Andrew Herrera. Andrew Herrera had fantastic performances on the Manchester United tour. We as fans were looking forward to seeing him for the first time in Old Trafford in a competitive Premier League game. However, the Spaniard really, in my opinion, did fail to make any significant impact in his very first Premier League game. He was outshone by the likes of Key, getting on top of him and all over the place, pushing him back, preventing him from being the Basque midfielder that undoubtedly he probably will become eventually. However, in the middle of the park, Ander Herrera didn't put in the performance today. So basically, that's my five things we learnt from this Swansea game. This has been EPL News. Thank you very much for watching.